Because every time in history that there's been this huge bureaucratic thing that everyone just thinks will blow over, some dude or woman with a big mouth with an alternative opinion goes, that's enough.
For a long time, I felt the army let me down, but the answer is it's life. Sometimes you have everything and it just gets taken from you. And it's how you respond to it. You can either be the fool or you can be the hero. So.
And that's to my last point. You got to take the leap.
Have you ever sit across from anyone like this before?
Yes. Not for an official interview, but yes, I have many times.
Right. Who are you, Ashish?
It's a deep question. I typically would say I'm an entrepreneur. I'm a student at heart. But who I am, I don't know.
What do you value?
I value education a lot.
How come?
I went to the same school that my dad went to, that my grandfather started. And since I was a kid, I felt like I was the centerpiece at that school. Not in terms of just everybody knowing me, my teachers and everybody around me, but just that essence of like having my grandfather around and the place that he started. It really means a lot to me.
And who was your grandfather?
He's a great human being. He's the best way to put it is when I go back to the city where I was born, I'm not known by my name.
What city is that?
What's what?
What city is that?
What city is that?
Yeah, what city is that?
Pune.
Pune.
India.
Where is Pune?
Pune is in the western part of India. It's about 150 kilometers from Mumbai. Everybody knows Mumbai. Okay. This is like this sister city that nobody knows or cares about. Well, probably never used to. Now they do. But yeah, that's where I'm from.
Why didn't they care about it? Why do they care about it now?
It was nothing. Now it's like Mumbai was not sustainable for a long time because just 2 million people per square mile. And it needed a city next to it that could flourish and could support it, and that's what Pune became. And now suddenly you have a lot of IT companies and a lot of things happening in Pune. That's where I'm from.
Right. And why did your grandfather build a school?
My grandfather comes from, he actually didn't even live in Pune. He comes from like this remote, small coastal village in India, and somebody gave him the opportunity to go to Pune and live there. And when he went there, he said, what do I do? What's the first thing I do? And he went and met the bishop of the church, and the bishop said, what do you want to do? And he said, I want to start schools. Gave him some money and he started schools. And till I was 14, he lived till I was 14. I spent a lot of time with him, and for him education was everything. He put his entire salary in just educating people.
What do you mean?
All the money he got, he spent on just poor people, getting them to study, build a life of their own. And gave little of that to his own family.
Right. Why do you think he wanted to open a school?
I think it was just, I don't know, if I was older, I would have asked him that question at 14. I never felt like asking, but I couldn't really see the passion in him because I was that young and I didn't have the brain to analyze it. But today when I talk to all the people who lived around him, who worked with him, I get it. Like, he was just solely motivated in helping poor families scale up. That's all he cared about.
What did they say about you that surprised you? What did they say about him?
That he was selfless. He was selfless in just doing things for people. You know,
Do you think that was his gift?
Yeah, I think so. My mother keeps telling stories of, you know, when she didn't even speak the local language, and because she was also from a village, and she got married and she came to Pune, which was a city by then. And she said, I didn't even speak the language, but I would feel so safe walking on the streets because shop owners and random people would call me and say, hey, you're Ryan's daughter-in-law, come have a cup of tea.
Right.
And she said, that's just amazing. And, you know, so there's a lot of that still goes into how I think of myself as a being.
So it
But
sounds
the
like
balance for me is, you know, I also want to make a ton of money.
Right.
Yes, I want to give, and I want to definitely help my country and my city of Pune, and yes, but I also want to build what my grandfather did in one school. I want to build it globally. I want to scale it, and that's who I am actually. Nobody's ever asked me that question, by the way.
Was your grandfather a founder?
Yeah, depends how you define a founder. My grandfather,
Someone that starts something from zero?
yeah, if you define it that way, yes, of course, he's a founder.
Is that where you get your founder spirit from?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I get it definitely. If I look at my family, it's not a family of entrepreneurs. It's not. It's a family of government service workers and, you know, and employees. It's not a family of founders. If I had to pick, it'll probably be my grandfather and then me.
Why do you think that is?
You mean, why is my family not an entrepreneurial family?
Why do you think you became a founder and everyone else around you didn't?
I think they just wanted the easy life.
Are you sure?
No, I'm not, because I never asked them. I never asked them, but yeah, like if I look at my parents, they did what they thought was best. I think that for them the safest bet was, yeah, we'll work, we'll make some money, we'll raise a family. They have 2 kids and they have to raise them. For me, it's a little different.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. You made a comment about money before as a difference between you and your grandfather. Do you really mean that?
At least that's what I think is the truth. Is the difference between me and my grandfather. I think that's the case. In the little time I spent with him, I don't think I knew him well enough to know what his deepest ambitions were. But I think his ambition was definitely not making money or anything related to money. He didn't care about money at all. He did not. He wore like 3 shirts and one trouser. That's it.
I always see you in the same shirt. Are you sure you care about money?
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point.
You took a shower in a airline lounge before you came and saw me today. That doesn't sound like someone that cares about money. It sounds like someone that's scrappy.
Yeah.
Why did you do that? Why did you hustle your way into an airport lounge when you shouldn't?
You know, it's a good question you ask. So I've been asked this question a couple of times, and yeah, you're right. You're right. I'll tweak that a little bit. I still want to say I care about money, but I don't think I care about money for myself. I think the way the world is built is we use money as a ways and means to buy betterment for ourselves and others. That's the only way the world allows you to live a better life. And if I have to do that for all the people around me, probably the only way I see, maybe there's a couple of other ways, but for me, the primary means of doing that is to make money.
To make money or to help others access it? Or make it
To
themselves?
make money that others can access.
What does that mean?
You know, like we went through, I'll give you a story with iSchool. We started iSchool, and a lot of people say we got lucky, but no, we hustled our way the first 2 years. We actually made good money, decent profits, and I had cash in the bank. And the first thing I did, and I told my investors and the board that the first thing I want to do is I want to give away $250,000 in scholarships to deserving students who can go and study anywhere they feel like. Indian student, you know, somewhere in a village who deserves to go to America, go to America. And the question they asked me is, if they're poor and they cannot afford it, why don't you fund them, but fund them to study locally? Then you can fund maybe 5, 10 students instead of 1. And I said, no, I want the poorest of poor to find their ambition wherever the hell they feel like finding their ambition. And I put $250,000 in that. I didn't take a single penny out. I didn't let my investors take a single penny out, but I gave it out. Unfortunately, the following year was bad for us. 2022 was bad in a way, and you know, I had to stop that. But that's the power of money. That's the power of money. I want to build more entrepreneurs. I want to build ambition, and that's deep inside of me.
How much money have you lost on iSchool so far?
I wouldn't call it lost, but if you look at the P&L, you'll see roughly about 10 to 12 million spent. I don't know if it's lost because we're still building.
Why do you think you and your grandfather are in the business of scholarships?
You think we're in the business of scholarships?
Sounds like it.
That's an interesting way to put it. The business of scholarships.
Why are scholarships important? Why did your grandfather create scholarships by taking his own wage and making it a scholarship? It sounds like he introduced a scholarship to a village that doesn't even know what it means. Why did he do that?
Yeah, he doesn't. He probably doesn't. That's an interesting one. Yeah, like so the school he created still gives a scholarship under his name, right? Some of that is funded by family as well. And it goes year after year, it goes to some student based on some logic. Like, oh, you scored well in a STEM course or whatever, and your family income is lower than that or whatever, then you get this scholarship that's funded in my grandfather's name. Your question is, does that person even know what that means to him? They probably don't. But I think the way my grandfather would answer that and the way I would answer that is It's the same as I would, when you think about homeless people and you like give out money and you're not sure if they're gonna invest that money in something good, like buy a burger for their kid or invest it in drugs. You really don't know. But you still want to take a chance on that 1 out of 10 who might actually do that. That 1 out of 10 students who will actually take what you gave them and make something good out of it.
What do you think is different about that 1 out of 10?
They're ambitious, like me.
Where does it come from? Have you noticed a trend?
There may be different reasons actually. That's a great question. I don't know if I can answer that. Like, do you think, like, you're a really ambitious person, and I know that from just knowing you for the time I have. I don't know if both of our ambitions will have the same root. I don't think every person will have the same route to ambition, but what you can start sensing if you're smart enough and you've done it enough times, what you can start sensing is not the route, but the end. The end outcome and the result of ambition is similar in a lot of ways across individuals. And I'm going for that outcome for that one person. And that matters to me a lot. You're right, I wear the same black t-shirt. I usually wear a Levi's. My team is not happy about it. It's like, why are you promoting the Levi's brand? At least we're an iSchool, so here we have iSchool. But yeah, I wear the same t-shirt. I drive a car that has 180,000 miles on it. And I'm really happy. I don't think we need a lot of money for personal happiness, right? I find a lot of joy when I see employees and that 1 out of 10 student. Same with employees. 1 in 10 employees will probably make the best out of their time at iSchool. The remaining 9, do I care so much about them? I would dare to say, I don't care about them as much as I care about that 1 who actually has that ambition, who came through some route, had some education, and says, I want to do something. And those are the people who scale. Even within the company, one of the things I've focused on is leadership roles. We don't hire. We take people who started as a junior, like as an intern or as a business analyst or a junior counselor, and they lead functions at iSchool, even though we're a small startup. Within 2-3 years, like Webber, who's my chief operating officer, started as a marketing manager. Rupali, who heads counseling, started as a counselor.
Right. Do you think your staff know that your scholarship business is a family business?
No, they don't.
Why haven't you told them?
Yeah, it's I don't know. It's fundamentally, I think, it's fundamentally ingrained in me, actually across my family, and it probably comes from my grandfather, that what you do for people doesn't have to be publicized, which is true in a way. But I like your question, because when you're trying to scale a business and when you want to make money to help, then it's something people should know about. Yeah, I've never spoken about it.
You don't know why, do you?
Don't know why what?
You haven't told them.
Don't know why I haven't told him? Yeah, I don't. It's something internal. Yeah, I don't. That's why I'm like thinking when you're asking me this question.
You're trying to achieve a lot of things for people to get access to education that they can't afford. And in some cases, we sit here today, you're really trying to pioneer a better way of accessing these institutions or universities that offer a lot of scholarships. What is your vision?
Just want to make sure.
You're right. What's Ashish, founder of iSchool's vision?
Can I ask you a question in reverse?
Sure.
What do you think is the biggest barrier to getting a successful outcome in life? Whatever outcome means. It might mean career, it might mean a lot of things. What do you think is the biggest barrier?
For me personally, it's conquering my own mind. That's it.
The kind of people I lived with around me in the village was town. I'm from. They don't even have the means, the time to think about that question. Think about outcomes. Think about how do I condition my mind. All they're thinking about is how do I survive the next day. For them, in the end, it's about that extra dollar bill that can sit in their pocket, that can help them the next day, right? And that's, for me, that's the biggest barrier for people. The reason I started iSchool, and we're probably the only such founder-led business in our space. The reason I started iSchool is because the whole world told me, it's great that you have all the good grades, it's great that you went to one of the best schools that your grandfather started, and you got a gold medal in your master's degree, and you got a great score, and you speak good English with good grammar. But you cannot go to America to study business, even though that's what you want to do. And they thought the reason for that is money. They thought the reason for that is that I don't have the $40,000 a year to spend for an American MBA. But that's the common thought process. In my case, I still made it happen, but it's very rare. I got a 100% scholarship, and I came here, and my whole world changed 180 degrees. I went from trying to survive my day and somehow pay for my rent and do whatever I was doing in India, to suddenly thinking, how can I do this for every other student? How can I get them to study wherever they want without money being a barrier? And I thought, a lot of people can get scholarships, but they don't. So you're saying we're in the scholarship business, there's some sort of correlation with my personal trajectory. Bless you.
Thank you.
With my personal trajectory, right, is I got a scholarship, but how many 100% scholarships do you get out there? There's a handful.
I don't know.
Across the country, handful. Like maybe a few thousand students get it. And that's the barrier. For a lot of people, money is the ultimate barrier, unfortunately. And for a place like India, where the education system is actually, like, we're famous, across the world for only being interested in computer science, engineering, and medicine, and those kind of programs. Because education is kind of embedded. Families would empty their entire life's savings on a child's education and live in further poverty just so that their child studies. I want to support that. That's the goal. In the end, that's what we want to do.
So if I had to explain what your vision is to my grandma, How would you say what you just said very simply?
I would say what we want to build is I don't know if you want to use the word bedrock with your grandma, but what I want to build is a bedrock for global education. When people look at our website, they think we're a matchmaker between a student and an institution. That's what they think. And they're in sort of that tunnel vision of, oh, iSchool, when I go to ISchoolConnect.com, it says find and explore universities worldwide. What they don't see is it's a bedrock. It has an entire algorithm that can look at a student's profile, figure out what's the right school for them. They might get an admit to Harvard, but my algorithm might say, don't go to Harvard. Yeah, you'll get a great brand and a great school, but it's going to come to you at a cost, because you're going to get, if you're lucky, a 10% scholarship. Rather go to Bentley. It's a low-ranked school, but you'll probably spend $5,000. If you're building that bedrock of, it doesn't matter what the brand of school is. It doesn't matter whether you have the finances or not. It doesn't matter whether you have the grades to prove that you're a good student or not. None of that matters. The only thing that matters is what's your final ambition. You get into iSchool Connect. You let the magic of the algorithms that we've built using machine learning, the human staff that we have who are just brilliant people, 100 of them at this point, and how it all comes together to then make that happen. That's what you explain to your grandma. Nobody's done it.
I think my grandma knows what an algorithm is.
Yeah, okay.
What do you...
But she probably doesn't know what algorithms can do for your ambition, does she?
No. So what... I'm just trying to decipher what you've told me. Maybe a better question to ask is, when you're home and you meet these villagers that don't know what ambition is because they're trying to survive, and they go, hey Ashish, what are you up to, man? What are you telling them?
You know, it's like trying to build the next generation car, right? Like, you know, when Tesla built the Model S, which was the first successful, I'll skip all the previous versions, but when they built the Model S, people thought it's an electric car. Yeah, it saves, you know, it doesn't pollute the environment and all of that. None of that was true. I mean, the electricity in the end comes from coal. It initially came from coal, and the hope is we'll switch to solar. What Tesla was building is not a car, not something to commute in. What they're building is the infrastructure to make the world go electric. So when I talk to a normal person, I don't want to waste my time telling them I'm building this whole infrastructure to make the world electric. For you, normal person, I have a car. You drive it, it doesn't consume gas, gets you where you want to. That's it. What I'm building in the background is that whole infrastructure. That's why today, even though a lot of people think, oh, my primary customer is the student. It's actually not that. My primary customer is actually not the student. It's not even the institution. My primary customer is anybody who wants access to educational data of the globe. That's what, in the end, iSchool is actually, it's a corpus of all of the data on institutions. Today I sell that data. I'm actually, I would dare to say we're the gold standard for information about institutions across the globe like nobody else. You go to a Hobson's, you go to wherever you want, and you try to search for a school and all the information around it and what does it take to get in, and You'll find way more than that, at least 3 times more than that within iSchool. So we're building this whole bedrock of information about institutions globally that not only students can access. I have institutions accessing it. I have banks accessing it. I have banks in India that use my data to help their students when they're seeking loans. Because they can look at my data and go, oh, okay, because I have analyzed close to 4 million students. And my algorithms can tell you success rates, it can tell you what the student's gonna face when they hit that institution, start study, whatever. So there's a lot we're doing. So it's not really it's not about admissions in the end.
Right.
If that helps answer something.
Is that what you tell people in your village?
I just tell them it's an admissions platform. You can get admitted.
What do you wish you could tell people in your village?
What I wish I could tell people in my village, actually people anywhere, what I wish I could tell them.
No, just the people in your village.
Just the people in my village.
Not in Just say.
Prove to me, just a little bit, that you have the ambition to grow yourself and your family, and will support you in building your ambition. And money won't be an issue. That's what I want to tell them. Yeah.
What would you tell your grandfather about what you're up to?
For my grandfather, I'm gonna tell him that I'm taking the little school that he built, that was funded mostly by the government. That's one of the things, actually, I mentioned that, like, it's a public school, so you pay very little money to go study there, but it has the best education. I'm gonna take that school and scale it, make it a global way to study.
So you're making your grandfather's school global, you think?
Yeah.
Cool. What is unique about iSchool? What's the one thing that makes it stand out from everyone else?
You know, a lot of our competitors, companies in the space that have taken millions of dollars in investment, they don't look at education the way we look at it. They look at education as a way to make a little bit of money on every student. It's all about the LTV by CAC on every student. Yeah. The way we look at it is a network effect. If I help, I'll give you a case from last week. We had a student from India, northern India, extremely smart, came to us, went to Stanford, undergrad, full scholarship, through iSchool. How much money did we make on that? CAC on that student was about $150. We spent about $150 to get this student into iSchool. What's our LTV on that student? 0. We made 0 money on that student. When an investor looks at that type of a customer, they say, oh my God, this is bad business. What do you mean it's bad business? It's one really deserving student from a village in India who ended at Stanford in America. The network effect that creates will anyways make money for us. I mean, we'll get in some students who like pay for services and do something, but that 1 in 10 who cannot afford it, but has the freaking talent to go to a Stanford, goes through iSchool Connect. None of our companies in the space have the data, the information, the algorithms to be able to do that. But we do that. What I want to build in the end is that bedrock. It's that infrastructure where it's like a booking.com, right? I know it's cliche to give examples, but booking.com doesn't charge you because you want to, like, when you want to go and search for what's the best flight or the best hotel, do they? They don't. You can go there. But the network effect that you create when you go to a booking.com and find the best or best, cheapest flight, fastest, whatever, the best hotel based on reviews or whatever, the network effect it creates and some revenue that it creates in the back end is what runs a company like booking.com. That's what we want to build for education. We want to build an infrastructure where students and institutions and employers are connected and everything's happening, and it doesn't require money at all times. It doesn't. Right. And yeah, because it's not, in the end, yes, it's a business, and every investor and everybody looks at it as a business and the P&L and the EBITDA and everything. But that's not the primary reason that I started iSchool. It's not. It's to replicate what happened to me as a student. Nobody in the middle made money when I came to study.
So you don't charge unless there's an outcome. Or you don't charge the poor, is what you're saying.
Yes. We don't charge every student. That's how iSchool is built. There are some basic services that we're automating, and this is where AI is really meaningful in what we're doing, right? We started building AI before it was even cool, before ChatGPT and everything, because when you want to serve a student at scale, and especially when you're looking at low and medium income customers, and in a country like India where there's tons and millions of them, your serving cost per customer has to be close to zero. Otherwise, it's just not sustainable. And so we're building a lot of the technology that can do that work. Sometimes students still want help. They want counseling. They want some help with loans and things like that, for which we have to charge because there's a cost to us. But otherwise, generally for students, it's free. In fact, not even 10% of our revenue comes because a student paid. No, it all comes from institutions.
Okay. So you've run a business for a while now.
Yeah.
What have you got wrong? Maybe your top two.
Yeah.
What have you got wrong as the founder, Ashish?
So I'll have a top one in like product and process and everything, but overall, the one thing I got wrong, and I'll dare to say this, the one thing I got wrong is that when I started iSchool and I started thinking of scaling what my grandfather did for my school, what I got wrong was that I thought there's a lot of investors out there, but I also thought there's a lot of ambitious investors out there who think about the long-term perspective. And it's nothing, this is not even like, it's not salesy or it's not like pointed at any investors. I've got some really great investors who believe in us on our cap table. But the fact that, if you want to scale this, you need money. If you need money, you need the first customer. But if you have the first customer, it's not enough because all the revenue is concentrated. You need 5 more. But if you have 5 more, it's not enough because at 5, you also need EBITDA to show that when you scale, you're profitable. It's an endless loop. And I missed that because this is the first time I started a company. And when you have to think of starting a company that's going to create shareholder value, that's going to be cool for investors, but it's also going to be cool for that person, that poor kid who doesn't have the money, it's really hard to do it when you don't have that type of investors. It's probably very few, probably I didn't reach them, but that's the number one thing I missed, because I probably would have looked at it differently.
Are you saying that you misunderstood how the investment market works?
Yes, okay. Absolutely.
And what's one thing you think you got right?
The one thing we got right before anybody is
the one thing you got right?
Personally?
Yes.
The one thing I got right is that I'm actually helping education at a time when it really needs it. When you see 10 years of decline in enrollment numbers across the country, and about, I think last year we had 750 institutions shut down because they don't have students. Why? Is it because people don't want education? No. There's still a lot of people who are uneducated. There's millions of them who don't even have a high school diploma, therefore they cannot get a job. I'm at a time when the one thing that I feel, like my grandfather also felt, runs the whole world, which is being educated and having a college degree. I'm helping that.
Right. So you got the timing right.
I did get the timing right. Yes.
And if your grandfather was here today, what's the top thing you told him that you've learned? What's the main thing you've learned?
Let me think about it for a second. What's the top thing I've learned? Because I've learned so much as an entrepreneur. I feel like in the last 3 years, I've learned more than what I learned in like 30 years of my life. But I would say the most important thing I learned that actually changed me a lot is, and it's the irony about what I do. Just because I run an admissions platform and I feel education is at the core of everything, it doesn't mean everybody needs education. That's the one thing I learned. Our algorithm will and our people are equipped to tell a student who comes in that you don't even need to study anymore. Because you can, in the end, it's about ambitions and it's about outcome. If you, Tom, walk into our office and start talking to us, and I realize that the outcome that Tom wants doesn't need more education, then my algorithm should inversely be able to tell you that. Even though I'm running an admissions platform, but one outcome is also that you don't need admission, because you already have all the capabilities to get to the goal that you have.
Do you tell people
And it's
that
an
much?
unbelievable thing to see. What's that?
Do you often tell people that lesson?
No, we actually don't tell them that often, because it doesn't fit the dogma of people in the company, investors, people around you, right? Like it's like, it's like we're sitting in a gym right now, and somebody walks in, and if you were to tell them that no, you don't need any more exercise, I mean, it's hypothetical, but you don't need it. Like you're a gym, like you're here because people come and you give them a way to train and exercise. But so it's something we have to build in the system. We have to build that thought in our employees. But it's one very powerful thing that we learn.
Sounds like it.
Like I personally
So now
have
that
2
you
masters.
so now that you know that lesson, what's next for iSchool? What are you doing with that knowledge?
What we've discovered is that the fastest way to get this bedrock, this infrastructure out to the market is actually not going to the student one by one, which is how we started. We spent the first 3 years trying to take our voice out to every student who's looking for education. We actually reversed that pattern. So like in the last 2 years or so, we've been taking this bedrock and deploying it at institutions, deploying it at enterprises, and going reverse. Because when a student, let's take, so one of the largest institutions we work with today has about 140,000 enrollments a year, which means they have about 1 million students looking at them every year. When I put my bedrock there and I actually run that institution's infrastructure, I automatically get 1,000, 2,000, 2 million eyeballs on what I'm doing. So we've just switched that completely. We look at it more as a B to B to C rather than a B to C. And I think that's a big learning lesson for us moving forward.
Right. So it sounds like you're helping institutions improve their access versus individuals just accessing institutions.
Yeah. The problem statement has pivoted from here's a student who deserves education to more of here are institutions where there are deserving programs that students can go to.
Right.
Yes, so we've pivoted on that, and we've been doing pretty well there. We have some really large deals. In fact, the one we signed last month is a very, I think it's going to be instrumental in the way education in the world is perceived. It's with the city of Neom in Saudi Arabia. Because they're building the city of the future, so they're thinking of education differently. And I felt there's no better place for our technology and our platform to sit than them, because they're thinking, okay, how is this going to be 20 years later? And it's revolutionary the way we're kind of thinking about it. So that's where we've pivoted from just being a direct to student platform to sitting inside of not just institutions but like cities, whole cities, like the city of Neom is gonna run on our infrastructure. And I think that's what will take us maybe 5 years down, make us that booking.com, that whole infrastructure where institutions and students and everybody just thrives to get that end outcome. That's our goal.
Okay. Now you're looking for a capital partner to help take you in your grandfather's vision and I guess realize it.
Yeah.
What outside of money? What are you looking for in that investment partner?
Yeah. A dollar, extra dollar in the bank can only take us so far. I mean, it's been about 6 years. We've not raised more than a couple of $1 million. Initially, we actually didn't have to. So what I've learned as a founder is that I can get revenue or cash in the bank one way or the other. I can get maybe 4 or 5 good enterprise deals and get some cash in the bank to run it. What I won't get there, I'll only get the cash. What I won't get there is the knowledge and the expertise to take me to the next level. So I think as a founder, I can start another business and take it from a 0 to 10 pretty efficiently, pretty quickly and successfully. 10 to 100, I've never done that before. So I'm looking for investors who can support me in that 10 to 100 journey.
But do you know what you need to be successful personally?
Yes.
What's one trait you're looking for?
I'm looking for I don't know if an investor will be able to provide that directly, right? It might be an indirect.
Why don't you just tell
thing.
us? If you could wave a magic wand.
If I could wave a magic wand, what I need to get to is, so there's a lot of institutions in this country, right? There's about 4,000 something institutions. A lot of them need help, but they don't know they need help. That's why you see numbers like that, 750 of them closing down per year. I need access to them. Access might come as a result of having a really efficient sales team or having people in the network or whatever, but I think an investor is step one. Having that right investor who can make that happen, that unlocking of that potential with institutions, that's what I'm looking for. So having an edtech investor would be good. We've been talking to a lot of investors. There's interest, of course, but now slowly, I've started looking outside of EdTech as well, because what I've realized is,
It sounds like you want someone that can help you communicate to old institutions.
yes,
Right. Okay.
yeah,
And if you could go back in time and you've spoken to a lot of investors, you had an up and down journey. A lot of founders do. Nearly all of them do. There's very few that ride an upward, constant hockey stick. What would you say differently to an investor that you met 3 years ago? If you met them again now, what's one thing you would say differently?
I went to business school and then I met these investors, and it was the first time I started a company, and I thought everything revolved around the P&L. And that's where a lot of my focus was. I don't think I, as a founder, did a good job of telling these investors what I'm most passionate about. Because I thought the whole conversation is about P&L and how the hockey stick growth and how and the funny thing, and probably why I did that, is because the first 3 years of iSchool Connect looked beautiful on paper. Beautiful. Everything from revenue to EBITDA, perfect. We got some really big customers. We sold IP. Like, who sells IP in the first 2 years and makes 6 million on it?
It's quite hard to do.
Yeah,
I would say impossible.
It's not impossible, of course, but it's one in thousands who get to do that. And so we did that, and then the focus became that. And investors, since my first conversation till now are doing that and looking at the numbers. And the minute I pivot, because I think that's not the direction we want the company to go in, right? Hey, we're wavering a little bit, we go here, and it hits the numbers a little bit. Now everybody's in panic. Like, oh my God, what do you mean, Ashish? Why did we do this? Why did we sell this IP? Revenue went down. Yes, because in the end, it's not just about scaling revenue continuously. It's also about keeping the mission and values of the company intact. And it may mean taking a dip. And we did take a dip actually in 22.
Did you say you forgot why you were doing it? Or did you just not focus on it?
We did not focus on it. I don't think we ever forgot. I mean, it shows up everywhere. Our mission statement, our value, we talk about it internally. Our employees even get their annual awards and recognition based on our core values. We've built it into the system so hard that it will stay. But when it comes to investor conversations, we've been wavering out of it. We're kind of, focused on the numbers, on the P&L, and the minute I start bringing all that back, sometimes you gotta take a revenue hit, and investors don't like that, which I get that they don't like it, but we're gonna keep moving in that direction. We're gonna keep investing in technology that helps create that bedrock, even if it means initially losing some money on it. Over time, that's the end game. That's where it's going to be. That's where we will be. So we want investors who look at that side of our business, who look at the fact that, suddenly the iSchool team realized that no, you're not going one after one student. You have to go after institutions. That means we have to build more. We have to build dashboards. We have to build stuff that requires investment. Yes, we spend money on that, but we know that if you look at the trajectory 3 years out, this is going to be the better trajectory. It has to be.
Right. So it sounds like you would like people to recognize your true end vision.
Yes, of course.
But it also sounds like you forgot it.
You might be right in that, for sure.
Right.
in the whole hustle of
maybe we can end here. And I've heard quite a lot about your own journey, the importance of your grandfather, the idea of scholarships being a family business, which is important. I'd like to sort of revisit this issue of passion, and I would love for you to tell tell everyone that's listening, why do you care still now? Why are you so passionate? I want you to think about it.
It's okay, I just want to take it. Because I don't want to leave that train. You know, I feel my wife and I have this conversation all the time about why we live. What's the meaning of you as a human being on this earth? Is it to consume the earth's resources? Is it to make the earth a better place? If better, what does better mean? I'd rather die than consuming resources on this planet. There's no point. For what? To see all the best cities in the world, spend some money? No. I want to contribute to what we're doing as humanity. Yeah, I know it sounds like a big salesy statement. No, it's what I'm passionate about. I wake up every day thinking, what's my contribution? And the only thing I know, honestly, I don't have an engineering degree like most Indians in general, the central dogma of our education system there. I don't have a computer science degree, but I run a tech company. I do AI. And why? It's because the only thing I know that kind of comes all the way from my grandfather, my family, and everything is education. I know the importance of it. I know what it has done for me, for my sister, for the people I've helped. That's the only thing I know, to be honest. All of the AI and the machine learning and everything, I have a team that builds it. Yeah, I get it. I can talk about it, and I love what it can do, the scale and efficiency it can bring. Personally, I cannot really code. I cannot. The reason I'm doing this is because I wake up every day knowing, hey, if I have to contribute and this is the only one thing I know, then I better do it best, in the best way possible. And that's the only reason I do it. iSchool, I'm hoping, serves millions of students. Even if it ends up serving maybe 100,000 by the end of it, that's fine. I mean, we've done what we had to do. I hope it's in the millions, and I will push for it. But yeah, that's probably the goal.
Well, thank you for sharing me those stories today.
Appreciate the time. Thank you so much.